I'll call this meeting to order.
Every year.
And we will start with the flag pledge, led by Commissioner Kohlers, because he just voted. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And if you could, silence your cell phones. Do we have any interest in approving the agenda?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes. Consent agenda.
I'll move it.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion or anything anybody wants moved? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes. Or opposed? Passes. Public appearances. Nobody from the public wants to talk. Is this a good time for the employees? Cassie? Or am I looking at this wrong?
Nope, you're right. We're to the board engagement piece for Health and Human Services, and we have two presentations today. Collections and then a whole bunch of other programs. So you want to start with collections, Cassie?
We
or?
are starting with collections this morning,
Okay.
and I will have Diane introduce her team members and
Yeah, you can pull.
up a couple of chairs.
Yeah, pull some more chairs up.
So good morning.
Morning.
I'm Diane. I'm one of the Health and Human Services supervisors. I supervise child support, child care assistance, collections, and licensing. And today I have my collections team with me to give you a little bit of information about what they do. I have Terry Pongratz and Jessica Schmidt.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
First off, I'm Terry Pongratz, and I'd like to thank you for inviting us to do this presentation for you today. If you have any questions, please feel free to jump in at any time and ask them, or it can wait until the end, either way.
So the ultimate goal of the collections unit is to help facilitate program integrity, which guards against fraud, abuse, and waste of benefits. Program integrity practices help improve stewardship of public funds by ensuring that proper assistance is available for people and families in need.
The collections unit performs tasks related to recovery of funds expended by the county, state, and federal governments, as prescribed by policy, law, and statute. Under county expenditures, we have the detox admissions for holes at the detox center, out-of-home placement fees to defray the cost of care placements. Medical assistance deductibles and medical assistance spend-downs are cost-sharing obligations. Under the federal and state programs, federal or public assistance overpayments and fraud claims for medical assistance, child care assistance, MFIP, which is a Minnesota Family Investment Program, SNAP, which is a Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, housing and cash programs. Medical assistance estate recoveries is to defray the cost of medical assistance expenditures.
So detox fees, they're the recovery of county dollars spent on an individual held at the Brown County Evaluation Center. We are contractually obligated to pay the detox facility for services rendered to an individual if they don't have medical insurance to cover the costs. We then attempt recovery from the individual. Currently, the daily rate is $355 for detox. So individuals, they can complete a financial affidavit. They may qualify for a reduced fee based on income and household size. We do not charge a detox fee to anyone that's on cash assistance. And then when we do recover the funds, we get to retain all those here at the county. In 2019, we brought in $37,672.49.
Out-of-home placement fees. Nicollet County expends funds for room and board, treatment, and other costs of care for children that are placed out of the home by the court due to CHIPS, children in need of protection or services, or delinquency matters. Court orders typically contain language stating that any income attributable to the child, Social Security or child support, is directed to Nicollet County Human Services to offset expenditures. The collection unit contacts the Social Security Administration or files an application with the child support unit to receive available funds. The parents are required to contribute to the cost of care for the examination treatment of their child. This is called a parental fee. The collection unit calculates parental fees based on financial affidavits completed by the parents. County agencies retain all recovered funds for out-of-home placement fees. 2019 recovery was $44,508.18.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
could I just interrupt here? Can we go back to the recovery on detox?
Yes.
That 37,600, is that a fee that is typical on an annual basis?
Do you mean the current daily rate?
No, the
The
recovery.
total
The
amount.
recovery?
Oh, the total recoveries per year? I would say yes, that's a good average for a yearly recovery.
Okay. And then on the out-of-home placement, is that a typical number?
I would say also yes.
It is. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Mr. Terry?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On each of these, let's kind of following up on what Jack's asking. So if you take, say, the detox fee, do we have a sense of what's not recovered?
We didn't bring that information with us at this time, but we can provide that for the board if you'd
Okay.
like.
Yeah, it'd just be kind of interesting to know, okay, so we recovered 37,000, what goes unrecovered?
Okay.
Can I add to that? How many people are we talking about with detox in a year?
Again,
Not
I didn't
sure.
bring those statistics, but we
Okay.
can provide them for the board if you'd like.
Is your question, Mr. Chair, how many people do we deal with, or how many people we recovered money from? Maybe both?
Both,
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to know how many people typically in a year are placed at the center?
Yes, yes,
And
What the
then-
cost is then for those placements, and then what is recovered?
yeah.
Is that
How
correct?
many people you recovered money from?
Yep.
And how
Who
many
were in
people total
placement, right?
are
Yep.
placed?
Does that make sense?
It does.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know if this is a good question or not, but is that like a 3-day stay usually, or is it?
It's typically 1 to 3 days.
Okay, thank you. Any other
And,
questions?
and the center clocks that time for their hold, so the center decides if it's a 24-hour hold or longer.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
if, obviously we're interested in detox for some reason, but, if, I'm just curious, we have a lot of college students in Nicollet County with 2 colleges here. If they were to end up there, do we just go, I don't say go after, but do we try to recover funds from that individual, or can we go to the family too, if they're a college student?
Well, the advantage of a college student is a lot of them are on parents' insurance. And
So then it-
so if the
yeah.
parents' insurance does cover the detox hold, some of the policies do, then they're taken care of right away through that insurance process. But if the insurance doesn't cover it, yes, we go through a recovery process with them just like we would anybody else.
Okay.
Because they are an adult
But-
after the age of 18.
But so then, if the insurance doesn't, those, are the parents on the hook also, or just the individual is, cause they're,
Just the individual
okay,
is.
okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
that does lead to some interesting questions, because there have been circumstances where parents' insurance is billed for the detox fee, and then they will call and say what happened, and we can't then share information about what that
Oh.
fee was for.
Oh.
And so it leads to some interesting conversations with parents.
But primarily, this is the uninsured or underinsured that you're trying to recover from.
Yes.
Anything else? Yes, we go off to your vote, Rob?
Okay, so the next debt type that we work with is medical assistance deductibles and spend downs. There are some medical assistance recipients that are over 21 that are required to share in their medical expenses, and they do that by paying a small monthly deductible to the county. And so last year it was $3.20. And then we have spend downs, which is also a cost sharing approach. It allows eligibility for medically needy people that are 65 or older, blind or disabled, and their income's a little bit more than the applicable limit. The spend down is the difference between their net income and the federal poverty guideline. So that can be either owed to us or it could be to a medical provider. What we do is we track the charges, we send out billing statements, and then we work with people on payment plans. We post payments for the accounts. We get to also retain all of that money that we bring in, and last year it was $3,918.13.
Medical Assistance Estate Recovery. Medical Assistance, MA, Estate Recovery is a program that the federal government requires the state of Minnesota to administer to receive MA funds. County agencies on behalf of the state assert medical assistance claims against the estate of the deceased MA enrollees or the estates of the enrollee spouses to recover the amount MAs paid for certain services described in state and federal law. The collections unit works with the estate representatives to recover remaining assets of the decedent and close the estate. Assets may include remaining funds from financial accounts, burial policies, annuities, and proceeds from the sale of vehicles or other property. If the estate enters probate, the collections unit files documents with the court to protect the MA claim and recovery. If the estate includes real property, the collection unit works with the DHS, Department of Human Services, Special Recovery Unit to obtain a lien against the estate. Recovered refunds are forwarded to the state or federal governments, and county agencies receive incentive dollars for their collection efforts. Incentives are paid out by reducing the monthly county billing. The current incentive for medical assistance estate recovery is 25%. 2019 dollars earned was $26,865.83.
Can I ask a question on that?
Sure.
So, does it ever happen it's a farm or a large valuable home that is recovered?
That's considered what, real property, and whenever there's real property in the state of Minnesota, it has to be probated. So then the documents are filed and a claim is filed into that probate, and then the court looks at that, and then yes, if a recovery is possible, we do recover it.
Seems like a small amount, I thought.
It really fluctuates from year to year because
Okay.
you have to remember that once a probate is filed, it's from 18 months to 3 years before
Okay.
that probate is settled. So we have several probates in the works at present, but the recovery I anticipate to see on those probably won't be until either this year or even in 2001. So it does fluctuate a great deal.
Thank you.
And also one thing to remember that that amount was just the incentive.
Mhm.
That wasn't the full amount.
So it'll be 4 times that.
Yeah. So the next debt type is public assistance. We are required to pursue recovery from clients who receive public assistance overpayments. There's 3 types of overpayments. There's agency errors, which could be a worker or a system error. Client errors, which we see mostly, is someone fails to report a change about their financial situation. And then there's fraud, and that's you can voluntarily admit to that, or you could be criminally convicted of wrongfully obtaining public assistance. This is another debt type that we get incentives for. So for cash programs, we get 50%. SNAP, we get 35% for fraud or 20% for a client error. Child care assistance and medical assistance overpayments, we get 25%. There's housing programs, so we don't get anything for that at this point, but it is being brought before legislation. And we also do not receive anything for recovering agency error overpayments. So in 2019, our incentives was $21,436.14.
The collection unit has several methods for recovery. Civil recovery agreements, the collection officer negotiates voluntary payment plans. Revenue recapture, we certify debts to the Minnesota Department of Revenue to intercept state refunds. Judgments are obtained by appearance by the collection officer in the conciliation court or through a paper administrative process. Wage and bank account garnishments can be pursued once a judgment is docketed. The Treasury Offset Program, DHS, certifies SNAP public assistance debts to see federal tax refunds. Recoupments, a percentage of the monthly public assistance benefits are withheld from the recipient and credited to the overpayment. Criminal restitution, the court orders a person convicted of wrongfully obtaining public assistance to pay restitution to the county agency. The collection unit accepts payments by cash, money order, check, and currently accepts credit card payments.
So in 2019, we recovered a total of $352,043.84. You can see the breakdown there by debt type. One thing we implemented this last year was a credit card payment system, which has been had a very good response. We brought in $13,415 in those few months last year, and it's also doing well this year. And then for revenue recapture, which is the Minnesota tax refund seizures, last year we were able to capture $40,292.04.
And then, Ms., to answer your question about the MA recoveries being low, you'll notice on the last bullet point, the total MA overpayments and estate recoveries, what actually was recovered was $129,613.01, but we only get 25% of the incentive. One of Nicollet County's core values is accountability. The collections unit defines accountability as our work to recover public funds helps retain taxpayer confidence and support for public assistance programs by showing that our agency cares and acknowledges credibility for the funds that are expended in our community.
Yes,
And Ryan, this may be a question for you, but it could be a question for anyone in the room about, we took some steps to enhance fraud recovery in the last year. Could you just say a little bit about what that was and where that stands, or maybe that's a question out here?
Yeah, well, I guess it's been 6 years now that we started a fraud investigator program that works closely with the financial unit, but Jay works with you as well.
Yes.
On various cases, and in recent history, we're updating policies to make sure we've got a clean process in place for fraud investigation.
Thank you.
so just that person being there probably helps a lot.
Yeah, I think our fraud investigator works primarily with the financial unit, but how often are you using our fraud investigator, would you say?
We usually don't get involved with the fraud investigator until the claim has been established, and then that comes to our world. But yes, he works very closely with them, and sometimes he will come in and ask us questions, or we can assist him with possibly finding an address or things like that. But you are correct. The process has been enhanced, and the movement and how it's all, the procedure has been immensely improved.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you both very much for everything you do. Can I just ask you, is there anything that we should have asked you, or anything that we can be doing to help you?
I don't think so.
Okay. Didn't mean to put you on the spot, I'm sorry.
I know, I didn't expect that. One thing that the collection unit is really pushing is garnishments. And it takes a lot of time for us to find employers and do that particular work to get that whole process started. We're trying to always be very efficient in our work and what we do, but as you are well aware, maybe after the presentation today, debt load increases and has been increasing. One of our debts that really has been decreasing over the years since I've been working with Nicollet County is actually the detox. That budget line has come down considerably over the years. But our own out-of-home placement is still there, and our public assistance frauds and those claims are still there. We'd like to really push into the garnishment area and do a much better job at that, but that takes time and more manpower.
Mr. Chair, if I could follow up on Commissioner Morrow, and maybe a little bit off. So we've talked about the number of people who receive assistance, whatever it, and Cassie, I think you've told us that number in the past, out of the 35,000 people that live in Nicollet County, the number that receive some type of assistance is?
I think we've talked 10 to 15%.
16 was.
So maybe
That includes medical assistance.
3,500 to
That would be a fair estimate.
3,500 people.
Cases, 3,500 cases maybe?
Is that, okay, so let's work off that number and what you folks are doing. What percentage of the 3,500 need to have funds recovered? which will give us a sense if you can provide that information.
Okay.
I mean, is it 100 people or 100 cases out of 3,500? I'm just curious,
You're talking about public assistance.
if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
We can try to get that information for you, but it also may be something that an eligibility, they're the ones who establish the claims. So they
Say that again?
The eligibility workers, they're the ones who establish the overpayment claims. So they may have some better information for you as far as the number.
I get a sense that it's not a widespread issue.
No, no.
So I just am curious what that percentage of the 3,500 is.
Okay.
And Jack, are you asking any kind of claim, whether it be an agency overpayment, a client overpayment, or fraud, or are you specifically wondering about fraud?
Well, I've got some history with fraud, as you know, so curious about those numbers. I'm curious about those numbers. But
I think to give you a good picture, we would do all of the claims,
Yeah.
because obviously we work with all of them, not just fraud.
Yeah,
Right.
I think what you could do is add your total current caseload up, if that's
Okay.
an easy way to do it. And
Okay.
we're using 3,500 as a guesstimate.
as the base number.
That'd be a way to, I think, give a snapshot of what percentage of assistance claims or clients or cases would involve collections.
Okay, perfect.
That'd probably be the easiest way to collect that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I have another question, on the detox people. Okay, anybody that gets arrested in Nicollet County, is that the ones that you deal with?
Yes, they have to be taken to the center either by the St. Peter Police Department or St. Peter Sheriff's Department.
Okay.
If you're picked up in Blue Earth County, then you're Blue Earth County responsibility. If
So
you're
if-
picked up in Nicollet County, you're Nicollet County responsibility, no matter where you live.
Right,
And
that's
your
the
residence
question.
is. It's whoever takes you to the center.
So somebody from Nicollet, if they got in trouble in New Ulm, that's not our priority, that's.
Nope.
That's right.
Okay.
That would be
Thank you.
Brown County's evaluation.
I didn't wonder about that.
Mr. Chair, not everyone that is arrested that's intoxicated goes to detox automatically. There's a standard, and I can't recall the standard that the jail has. If you come in and you PBT at over a certain level,
Okay.
there is an automatic, you go to detox at that level, but they also make an assessment of someone's level of intoxication.
So if it's just over the,
Well, you have some individuals who may, be 0.1 that are very intoxicated and are a danger to themselves, even to remain in jail, so they might be transported to detox.
Okay.
But not everyone that's arrested and intoxicated goes to detox.
thank you.
And we shouldn't leap over the credit card payment, because the credit card payment process has actually been very good in terms of recovering money, right?
It's
Absolutely.
been wonderful.
Yes.
Can you say a little bit about what makes it wonderful?
Well, because a lot of people are used to making credit card payments, and they don't object at all to do a monthly payment. And now that we are online, where they can go online and do their own payment, they just pop them in there monthly like they're scheduled to do so, and away we go, and we get the funds back. It's been really impressive.
It's been extremely impressive, I know in the probation department too. I believe they've been able to recover a lot of their fees with clients as well, so nobody has cash, but everybody seems to have
A credit
credit card that
Yeah.
they can use, so.
Well, thank
Can
you
I
for
just
working on
interject
it.
something? The one thing we have heard though is that some people have declined because they have to pay the fee. And
Oh,
so
the
they've
convenience
declined
fee.
using the credit card. So we could potentially be getting a payment, but because we're asking them to pay that 2 or 2.5%, they're declining. So.
Diane,
just-
how prevalent is that?
I think they take most of the payments, but it seems like they decline more the larger, of course, the larger the payment is. Our first thing is that, can we put this on a credit card? Because for us, we'd rather you pay us and then you can make your monthly payment on the credit card. But we have had some people decline because of that. And we haven't been using it that long, so
Yeah.
I think the more we use it, the more we'll be able to see if that's a deterrent or not for people using it. But I think there's just there is a lot of people out there that use their credit card as their, they just pay all their bills on that and then they keep making their credit card payment. So for them to put another payment on their credit card, they would do that, I think, without them having to pay that fee.
Heather, are you gonna figure it out?
They have to pay the fee.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
You're welcome, thank you.
So we're down to informational?
No.
We have a second, please.
Oh, sorry.
Good morning, I'm Tammy Simonson. I'm the Financial Assistant Supervisor, and I would like to introduce the members of my family team. Shannon Patterson, Lisa Keitzer, Christine Flynn, Lisa Radloff, and Michelle Marcella.
Morning.
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 Morning. Morning.
We are the eligibility workers that determine programs for cash, SNAP, and emergency assistance for Nicollet County families with minor children and pregnant women. In Minnesota, we have two cash.
You may want to move the mic near you, I think.
Oh, sorry. Would you like me to start over?
No, it's okay. It's being recorded as
Just
well.
want to make sure you heard it.
We did, thank you.
In Minnesota, we have two cash programs. The first one is Diversionary Work Program, also known as DWP. DWP is state funded. It is a 4-month program that was designed to provide services and supports to families to help them move immediately into the workforce rather than continue on public assistance. Most families who apply for cash will start on the DWP program. DWP is also a mandatory vendor pay program in which the cash payments are made directly to the landlords and utility companies.
The second cash program in Minnesota is the Minnesota Family Investment Program, also known as MFIP. MFIP is jointly funded by state and federal funds. Families have a 60-month lifetime limit on MFIP. Since this is partially federally funded, these months are tracked throughout the 50 states. MFIP helps families meet their basic needs while helping parents move to financial stability through work. They must pass an initial income test. They must be under an asset limit of $10,000, and they must submit all mandatory verifications to us before we can approve the cash assistance. Verifications include some examples: proof of residence, proof of ID, proof of relationship to all the children, and of course all asset and income information. MFIP cash and food benefits are issued directly to the EBT card. MFIP benefits change monthly depending on the income received in the household. If a family is approved for MFIP or DWP, the family must cooperate with child support enforcement for all of the children. And families must also cooperate with employment services.
To expand a little bit on employment services, we do contract with MBAC, and they provide employment services for families in Nicollet County. For the MFIP program, a single parent is required to complete and log between 87 and 130 hours per month. For a 2-parent family, they are required to complete and log a combined 55 hours per week of activity. For the DWP or Diversionary Work Program, they're required to complete and log 35 hours per week of activity. Activities can include but are not limited to employment, GED or adult diploma programs, secondary school or vocational training, some citizenship and ESL or English as a second language classes, activities included in a family violence waiver, chemical dependency treatment, mental health services, parenting education, and other programs designed to help families to reach their employment goals, the dislocated worker program, and also peer group and networks, just to name a few.
In some instances, adults in the home may be exempt from having to do activity or to have a reduced hours plan. And in those situations could include a child with SED or severe emotional disturbance, a case that has home health or waiver services, an adult with serious persistent mental illness or SPMI. Member is required in the home to care for a unit member. If a family fails to work with child support or employment services, the case is sanctioned or reduced. The first sanction of non-cooperation with employment services is a 10% reduction in their benefits, and that's based on the amount of benefit that they're entitled to for their household size, not on the actual grant. The second instance, or first child support sanction, is a reduction in 30% of their benefits. Second sanction starts mandatory vendor payments, so we'll enter the amount of rent that gets paid to their landlord and a utility company. So the cash doesn't actually go to the participant, it goes to get their bills paid. If you do receive 6 sanctions in a lifetime, that would be combined employment services and child support sanctions. On the seventh occurrence, your case will close. And sanctions never drop off. So if you earn a sanction, that sanction stays with you for a lifetime.
So another part of our family's cash unit is emergency assistance. And so we get a cash grant from the federal government called the TANF grant. Part of that grant we use to pay MVAC for our employment services according to the contract that's written. The other part we establish for our emergency assistance funds. So in the past, we've had $60,000 that we've allotted. In the past 2 years, we've actually been able to reduce that from $27,000 now to $25,000, and we've only used like $500 of it this year already. So emergency assistance is available to any family unit in Nicollet County. Normally, we use it for car repair for someone who's working. We use it for shelter, so an eviction, or to help someone who's homeless get into an apartment by paying first month's rent and deposit. Or we use it for utility shut-off, so heat, electric, water, anything like that. Members do have to have either an eviction notice, a shut-off notice, or be able to prove they're homeless, or provide the car repair. There are criteria that, of course, you have to meet in order to be eligible for this program. 200% of the federal poverty guideline is the income limit in the past 60 days before application. So we gather everyone's information in the household, all their income limits, and if they're over the 200%, then they just are not eligible for the program. The second criteria we look at is the 50%. So if we take everyone's net income in the household, and you have to prove to us that you've spent at least 50% of your income on necessities. So rent, utilities, daycare, car repair, car insurance, car payments, anything that's a necessity for you to live. And we do make people provide receipts, ledgers, and so that they have to make that proof. We do give credit for food. We give a standard credit for household size for food, so they don't have to keep receipts for that. The third criteria that is a big criteria is cost effective. So the purpose of emergency assistance is to solve the crisis and not to prolong it. So we are not going to pay for someone's rent who can't afford to live there. We would, in that case, we would maybe look for someone a cheaper apartment to rent. We don't want to solve it this month and have them be in eviction status again next month. That's a waste of our county funds. And I think that's pretty much all for the emergency assistance program.
Okay. In February of 2020, the cash assistance grants for families were increased by $100 for all household sizes. This was an increase of $100 for a household of 3 from $532 to $632. And it was also an increase of $100 for a household of 8 from $916 to $1,016. This was the first increase to family cash grants in 34 years. The new cash grants can affect other programs families rely on for assistance. Families will likely see a decrease in their SNAP and food benefits due to the increased cash grants. In January, a family of 3 on the Minnesota Family Investment Program, or MFIP, was eligible for up to $457 in food benefits. In February, a family of 3 on MFIP is now eligible for up to $412 in food benefits. This is a decrease in the food benefits of $45. A family of 3 was eligible for a total MFIP grant of cash and food in January of $989. In February, this family is now eligible for a total grant of $1,044 in cash and food. The total grant amount increased by $55 when the decrease in food benefit amount is accounted for. Families could also see a decrease in the amount they are eligible for other income-based programs such as child care assistance, Section 8, or other subsidized housing, energy assistance, and any other income-based programs.
There has not been a change in the amount of cash that families in Minnesota receive since 1986. This was before I was even born. Some of the things that have changed since 1986, the federal poverty guideline was $11,203. It is now $21,330. Minimum wage was $3.35. It is now $10. The median rent in 1986 was $308. It's now $1,588. A gallon of gas only costs 93 cents, and now on average it's $2.30. A loaf of bread was $1.02, and now is approximately $2.08. So those are just some of the things that have increased in the last 34 years, and the cash grants that Minnesota families receive hasn't changed till now. Are there any questions we can answer for you guys?
Yes, sir.
Thank you for all that information. If I could just ask you a general question, how are things going in Nicollet County? I mean, you've got a number of programs you all are operating, responsible for. How would you generally describe how things are going in terms of folks in need in Nicollet County? You've got a number of programs. What do you see?
We work real hard to be sure that everyone is taken care of as best as we can. We try to do a lot of outreach to be sure that people who are eligible are getting the programs they're eligible for. Some people don't think they are, but by going into, we do a lot of outreach with like the Community Connect, Project Community Connect, going to schools, talking to places. Even if you're eligible for a small amount of, like, say, food support, if you're eligible for $15 in food support, it makes you automatically eligible for free school lunches. And if you have, 3 kids in school and you're paying $3, that's $9 a day, $10 a day that you're saving. It also gives them free activity fees, so sports, drama, speech, and everything like that. So there's benefits besides the actual programs that they can receive, and we try to get that out to people.
I would add to Lisa's comment on outreach that we also plan to start partnering with the St. Peter Free Clinic. Lisa is one of our eligibility workers who has voiced an interest in doing so. So we're hoping to have county staff on site the 1 night per week that they're open in order to find people and be able to discuss eligibility for programs, particularly for their children.
Yes, Marie.
How difficult is it to get the information from people to determine what they qualify for? Because a lot of people have no clue what they do or don't have, or just obtain the necessary information.
It can be hard. A lot of times, especially like with assets and bank accounts now, it's where they can declare what we have them sign something that they can declare what their bank accounts are. Most of our people don't have a lot. They might have a couple dollars in their bank account, a 1986 vehicle. And we can help them with things. If they need birth certificates, we can help them pay to get that. We want people to be on those, and so we do what we can without enabling them, making them responsible for some things.
Yeah, I would just think it's a population that may or may not even file a tax return, so you can't get income type information from them.
In addition, we have a variety of releases that people can sign if they just aren't able to, they don't keep check stubs, they don't have their bank statements, they just aren't able to produce those documents. We have releases we can send to financial institutions, employers, landlords, to try to help get that information for them.
There's a couple online services too, like the Work Number that a lot of companies contract with that we have access to, that we can go check their pay stubs and their job ends.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Could we get a copy of that last info sheet since 1986. The question that I have, and thank you folks for all your work, because I think as a county we need to lift people up instead of stepping on them. But do you see the current regulations and standards as being fair, that you have to abide by, and that these people who receive these benefits, or could you or would you change any of them? And if you can just give a general, everybody have an idea on that? Fair?
That's a hard question. I mean,
John, can I ask your question differently?
Yes.
Jack, if I might?
Sure.
Is there something in the system you would change?
I appreciate for our cash programs that people can self-declare what they have, instead of producing titles and proofs of bank statements that maybe has $5 in it that they never use and they can't hardly remember the name of the bank. They can self-declare their assets, which is very helpful for cash. And that's new policy within the last 2 years, I feel like.
Two little questions. One related on to Marie saying some of these people don't even file income tax. Do you guys encourage them to file income tax? Because sometimes there's some pretty good benefits.
Yep. And most of our
income credits and
most of our clients are aware of those earned income credits. I mean, that's a huge benefit to a lot of people who are low income.
And do we compare what Minnesota does to surrounding states for benefits?
I don't. There are different rules. I know, like input time limits are different in different states. I think we are 60 is the maximum federal allowed, but I think South Dakota is only 24 months, and I think Wisconsin 60 months too. But in regards to months,
For dollars, benefit dollars.
I think that's federally set.
That's federal.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's federally set.
Okay.
So to go off of that, Mr. Chair, so
Yes.
if the state and federal monies weren't there, what would the investment be for us in Nicollet County, and would you still be here doing that work?
If we didn't get funded from the state and federal government,
Right.
oof, I'd have to look at and see how much grant we issue on a monthly basis.
What would the county investment be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can look that up and get that back.
And would we be of a mind to do that, to help our people in those situations? By seeing people nodding in agreement, or saying, no way, Jose?
I don't know. That's a hard question.
I think it may come down to what kind of a sell it is to the taxpayers to come up with that kind of money. We're talking a significant investment.
Right.
We would definitely love to be here doing the work, helping people.
Right.
Could we convince people that we need the money to do it?
You know, at our Minnesota Valley Action Council meeting yesterday, we were talking about dislocated workers, and I think it's $14.58 per adult in the house, a household of 3. So that's $60,000, roughly speaking. That's called a livable wage if you're 2 people working and a child. And these people that we're talking about aren't close to that, are they?
No.
No.
Not even sneezing at it.
In the packets
Yes.
that we handed out, there is examples of, I think it's the very last packet in there, but examples of a household size, if they're working 20 hours a week, 30 hours a week, and how that would affect their cash and food grants. It's in there from a household size of 2 to 10, I think we included them all. They all come off our DHS website.
And the nice thing about the cash assistance programs is we only count approximately half of their income. So it is very much of an incentive for them to be working, and sometimes they can receive cash depending on their income limits or their household size. And many do. Many are working
And that's
and
an important
receiving.
point. You all raised this in essence, that it's not so much the county wants everyone you want people who are eligible to get the assistance they need so they can work, so they can find affordable
Absolutely.
housing, so they can feed themselves. And I think that's kind of the key, right? In all the programs you're describing, is assistance. Do we have a significant number of folks in the county who are eligible and refuse? in your experience? You know what I mean? That
Yeah.
they could, but they just say, no thanks.
It does happen sometimes. When you get through and do the cash application, it does happen sometimes where somebody may not be interested in either working with employment services and having that accountability, or they may not be interested in changing anything with child support or having to do child support. So that does happen in some instances. They say, you know what, we've got a deal worked out, we're okay. You know, we don't want to go further with cash because child support is mandatory. So
I think that's why outreach is so important, because some people don't know what they don't know. They don't know they could be eligible. You know, I've seen people come in and they, you know, are looking for, you know, maybe $100 and they're eligible for $500 in food, and they're just amazed at what they can do with that. So.
Well, Mr. Chair, can I just, there's probably other questions, but, you know, Cassie and Ryan, thank you. It makes a big difference for us to hear your stories about what your life is like and how you're helping to help people. And this conversation, I think, is important for our board to just fill ourselves with that information about what you're facing and what we're doing here in Nicollet County, so I appreciate that.
Well, Chuck, let's ask the same question. Is there anything we could be doing to help you helping folks?
I don't think so.
Nope, I guess we're good.
Well, if you think of something, or if there's something in policy or something that we could either know about or need to do to help you, I hope you'll let us know.
I would just like to say that not specific to the families unit, but as our financial unit has had needs of caseloads growing over the years, we have really appreciated the support of the board to add positions as needed, and that makes it much easier for us to do our job, so thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm glad to see women are running Nicollet County. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, it's always been that way, Jack.
They'll run my house.
Mine too.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're down to Chair's report.
Have at it.
We are.
Costa Rica report.
Costa Rica, yeah, Buenos Dias. Well, I guess the only thing since our last meeting was I met with my neighbor with the natural gas line controversy, and it is, I haven't talked to him now, but they're gonna try and work with him. Luckily, he was buying his corn dryer from the same people that monitor the gas line, only the right hand wasn't telling the left hand what it was doing. So that's all I have for my report. Terry?
Okay, since we last met, I went to a community liaison meeting over at the Regional Treatment Center, and things seem to be moving afoot there. No major issues that came up. Met with the city of St. Peter in the liaison meeting. I don't think there was anything, Ryan, or Rhea, I'll let you all, if there was anything to expand on. Certainly we talked about recycling and some other issues there. Went to the food access meeting in St. Peter, the Food Access Network, last week, and that also was informative and talking about, much was about the produce distribution that will occur again this summer here in town. And I think that may be it. Oh, I mentioned the R. St. Peter meeting. If not, the R. St. Peter meeting as well.
Marie?
Last week I had the Brown Nicollet Community Health Board conference call / ITV gig in the basement. Worked pretty well. Commissioner Kemp called in from wherever he's at. Wherever he's at. I attended also the St. Peter Liaison Committee with Commissioner Morrow. We had planning and zoning last night. We had 3 public hearings and no comments from the general public. And last week I also attended the comprehensive plan first review of the document. It shortly will be online, and I would encourage all of you to peruse it. It's about 100 pages.
Yeah.
Other than that, I've just been working.
Marie, how many acres was that solar farm?
Last night,
Yeah.
6.8.
Okay.
And it surrounds a wetland.
Oh,
So,
it's not necessarily bad, is it?
no.
Good. Thank you to Jack.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Attended the Greater Mankato Growth Board meeting on the 20th. Also, we had our TDS meeting that morning with Seth Greenwood. We had the ATP selection meeting in St. James on the 21st. County board meeting, or Minnesota Valley Action Council, and then the comp plan. I'll be attending the AMC Legislative Conference tonight through Thursday.
Okay. Ryan, anything you want to add before we move on here?
Nothing today, Mr.
Okay.
Chair.
Approval of meetings and conferences, we have some of them we have to be concerned.
So everybody's set for the legislative conference,
Yeah.
and then I believe Abby's contacted you if you want to attend the leadership conference the first
Leadership
week of
in
April.
this well.
Yeah, and I'll need to know, because if you wanna go, rooms are going fast, but then you have to be able to cancel by March first, so we have like a little
And when is that, Nisswa?
April first through the 3rd. Jack and Denny have both gotten back to me if they'd be attending.
Okay. If I don't get back to you in a couple days, I won't.
Okay. Terry is not gonna be able to come over.
No, I'm gonna be in Chicago.
Michelle?
Continue to do some community outreach with the fraud. There was a couple presentations this month, working with our Aqua group to do prom cards. So those will be going out, trying to hopefully have those cards going out with flowers and tuxes and dresses to remind kids to make safe choices when they're engaging in their prom activities. So those are some of the focus that we have along with our normal process.
Okay, thank you. Per diems and expenses? Any motion on that, Ryan, or?
So
I thought Jack was here.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes. I guess we will adjourn the meeting, and then we will bring the Drainage Authority to order. We don't have to wait till 10.
No.
Consent agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes. Any public appearances for drainage? I don't think so.
You wanna talk about ditches?
And we can adjourn.
That's right.
No.